Hello, welcome everyone. Let me see if you can all, wow, welcome. I'm so happy to see you all here today. How is everyone? Good, let's see. There you all are. Good, great. Hi, I see Susan just put up, hello. We've got Larry and Christine and Annette. Hi, Annette, welcome. Let's see. This is great. Justin, Rika, Radha, Pamela, Gladness. What a cool name. And P.I. Wow. I'm happy you're all here. We're going to cook with ghee today. So everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm Alana, and I am your teacher today with the help of Courtney, who is right there waving at you. Courtney's here in Indian Foods. So we're going to have a fun class today. We're going to do some holiday recipes with ghee and take all of your questions. And if there's something I can't answer, Courtney's here. So we're going to have fun. So everybody have the recipes. Looks like this. Let's see. Let's see.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have them. Where do I get it?
So Courtney can help you there. She might, yeah.
I'll go ahead and post a link to download the recipes in the chat.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can just get that. There you go. Now there. I want to see if I can just, okay, I can see you guys. So we're gonna be cooking today. We're gonna make some pumpkin streusel muffins, and we're also gonna do some ghee roasted spiced pecans. So we're gonna do both of those things, and that is strange. There you go. Now you can see me, and let's see if there's a way that I can switch. There we go. Okay, so first of all, and this again is the handout. There's information on ghee and also the recipes that we're going to do, and we're going to start by talking just a little bit about ghee, and then I'm going to start making the muffins for you, and we'll continue our conversation. And as those of you who've been in my classes before know, I'm a really informal speaker, so I want you to, raise your hand or unmute yourself at any point if you have any questions. But I will also stop as I go along, just to make sure that you have, an understanding of what we're doing, and also, make sure that your questions get answered. So the first thing is, what is ghee? And these are the two ghees that I'm using, and you can use these for your recipes. One is original, the other is cultured ghee. And there are also spiced ghees that Pure Indian Food sells that would also be delicious in these recipes. For example, the dessert ghee. And you can read the ingredients online to see what you think might be fun for like baking. So ghee is actually a really healthy alternative to plain butter and other kinds of cooking oils. It is an ingredient in traditional dishes, in particular in India, but not just in India, but it is used as an ideal fat for frying and sauteing. It is prepared by melting and simmering unsalted, always unsalted butter, until all of the water evaporates and the milk solids actually settle in at the bottom. And what is remaining is a very stable, beautiful golden butter oil. And it is really, it's an excellent cooking fat because it has a very high smoke point, and that makes it a really good choice for frying, right? And it can be stored for several months without refrigeration because the lactose and the milk proteins and such things have been basically removed. Ghee is still a dairy product. As such, it is naturally gluten-free, which is good. But as you'll see later when we talk, many people who are sensitive to dairy products, and my niece is one such person, they, they can handle ghee just fine, no issues at all. So, okay, so that's basically what ghee is. So now I'd like to start by making our muffins, okay? So I'm gonna actually put the camera down here so you can see what I'm doing. You can see my workspace, and if you can't, just let me know, give me a yell, okay? And the muffins, we're gonna start here with the topping. And so I've got everything kind of laid out here, and I've prepped this for you. So in my topping here, I've got a couple of tablespoons of flour. You could use a whole wheat pastry flour or all-purpose flour, or you could use even a gluten-free flour blend that would be used like one to one. I've got a couple of tablespoons of dark brown sugar. You can use coconut palm sugar. I use just some organic dark brown sugar here. I've added a teaspoon of cinnamon, and now I've got just 1 tablespoonful of softened butter, and I'm going to make a topping just by kind of mashing it together. Now I've got my hands good and clean, and clean hands are often a cook's best tool, so I might get in there with my fingers here and make it nice and crumbly. Okay, so let's just get this going. So I'm just cutting in the soft butter, and this makes a nice topping. Now I've got my oven preheating because I'm going to make the pecans in my oven. And I've got my toaster oven right behind me preheating because I'm going to make the muffins in that. Now, this recipe will make anywhere from, say, 9 to 1 dozen muffins. But because it's a toaster oven, I'm just going to do 6. And then later on, I'll bake up the rest of the muffin batter. Okay. So the topping, as you can see, is now ready. See that? It's beautiful. It smells, it's a nice, fragrant, yummy topping. It's like a streusel topping. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go on to making or whisking together my liquid ingredients. So what I've got here now is a combination of melted ghee, and I've got some coconut palm sugar I'm going to add. This is melted ghee, and this is 1 cup of pumpkin. So I'm actually just going to stir this together just to kind of get it blended. And then I'm going to mix in my coconut palm sugar and an egg. And honestly, it doesn't matter what order you mix them in, although I would add the milk last. There you go. So I'm just going to get my egg mixed in there. Just 1 egg is right for the recipe. Okay, and then I'm going to add my coconut palm sugar. Now the coconut palm sugar is similar to brown sugar. It has a lovely caramelly, toasty kind of flavor, and it also has a lower glycemic index than regular sugar. So for many people, that means it won't raise their blood sugar quite as fast or quite as high. But I have learned that everybody's different, so we have to kind of go by what's right for us. However, the addition of things like eggs and milk and the ghee, as well as, the pumpkin, and if you use like a whole grain or a fibrous kind of flour, makes a difference in how it, the response that you have with your blood sugar. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just add to this the milk, and I've just measured out there just 1/4 cup of milk. So I'm just going to get that blended in here. There you go. And then to this, I'm going to add the dry ingredients. Now, for my dry ingredients, I've got flour, and I've mixed together my spices and a little salt. So I've got baking soda, salt, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves, and I'm just going to stir that right in. There you go, to the flour. And then we'll get the liquid ingredients in there. And then we'll be ready to scoop out our muffins and get them in the oven. Okay, so let's get this in there. You can see, just pour that right in there. And I love all of the spices. And as you mix the ingredients up, if you see like tiny little bits, like tiny little sesame seed sizes of ghee, don't worry about that. That's actually fine. You know, you'll blend it up as best you can without overdoing it once you've got the flour mixed in here. We want to stir it till it's just all combined, but you don't want to beat it too hard. Okay, so you can kind of see this. Yum. Okay. Now, if you don't like to use like the coconut palm sugar, if you don't want to do that or use brown sugar, you can actually use maple sugar in this recipe, or just like some organic cane sugar would be fine too. So, okay, now we're gonna scoop these. Let me just get all this cleaned off with a spatula. There you go. And get that scooped.
Alana, we have a couple questions for you.
Please, yes.
First, we have Susan, and then Maria has a question as well.
Okay, yeah.
Susan says, I'm vegetarian and egg-free. I use flaxseed slurry as a substitute. What would you use?
So she says she's vegetarian. Let me bring this up here. Okay, she's vegetarian and
Egg-free.
and egg-free, okay.
Mhm.
And she uses flaxseed as a substitute for eggs.
I guess so, yeah.
She can use the flax eggs, or she can use the energy egg replacer, which also works very well. So the energy egg replacer, she can buy that like at a Whole Foods type store or an organic market of sorts, or even order it online and mix that up. In some cases, she could use as well, she could add some baking soda to the recipe. And let me see how she might do that. So instead of using the milk, she could use like a non-dairy, say coconut yogurt, and then add, you know, it's got baking soda anyway. And so that will also help it to rise. Okay. But the flax egg actually helps it just to hold together better. So, or the energy egg replacer. So hopefully that answers that question. Second question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Maria.
Yes. Can you replace
It's not clear for me, Courtney.
sugar? Okay, let me type it in.
Okay, and then Courtney can read it here. So I tend to make my muffins. Let me show you what I'm doing here while she's typing there. I tend to make my muffins, you know, I don't usually fill the muffin tins 2/3 full. I usually fill it more like 3/4 or a little bit more, and I like them a little bit big. So this is, for me, is going to make probably 8 or, you know, even 8 or 9 muffins. But if you're just doing standard muffin sizes, you know, you could say, okay, this is going to do, you know, a dozen, but I like it a little bit bigger. So can you guys kind of see how pretty that is now? So I'm just gonna put some topping on that now. Just sprinkle the topping around, and I'll bake the other few muffins a little bit later. So literally just take my fingers and kind of just sprinkle it on the top like that. See, that's it. They're such delicious muffins too.
Alana, could you use jaggery
In the topping.
in the recipe for the muffin?
Oh, that's a great, actually, yes, you could use jaggery. Yeah, you'd want to grate it and make sure it was very soft, or even melt it. Like we're doing for our next recipe. I think that that would give very, very caramely. And you know, jaggery is one of those sugars that has such a nice caramelly flavor. You can also get by often using less than you would other kinds of sugars, because the flavor carries so well. But what you would do is melt the jaggery with the ghee to begin with. That's what I would do. And in fact, I think that's a great idea. Okay, can you see that, how that's got the nice topping on there? Okay, and then I've got a little bit left over for when I do the other muffins. So I'm gonna get these into my toaster oven. Okay, and these are just baking right now at 375. They're gonna bake for 22 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and set a timer for 22 minutes. There we go. And we'll make sure that those are done. And we will start our pecans in just a second, but I wanna kind of get back up here again and say, okay, Courtney, any other questions or anything? Did that come up yet in the chat?
Maria was asking for the jaggery. Would it be 1-to-1?
Okay, yes, it would be. It would be 1-to-1. And again, you know, sometimes with sugar in a recipe, you don't have to use the full amount. If you don't like things on the super sweet side, use a little bit less, and that's fine too, you know? So, and remember, the jaggery has a very rich kind of caramelly flavor. So if your recipe calls for half a cup of sugar, you may be able to use, you know, a third to say 7 tablespoons of the jaggery. So that's entirely up to you, but that's good. Any other questions? Anybody else have anything at all? Okay, well, we're going to talk a little bit more here just really quickly then about ghee and its importance in Ayurveda, and as what they call a sattvic food in Ayurveda. And a sattvic food, make sure you guys can see me okay, a sattvic food is really a very pure food. So ghee is a natural stimulant to the digestive fire, which in Ayurveda is known as Agni. And that's an extremely important thing, because when the digestive fire is strong, then health is better. Digestion is more complete, and the body is stable and grounded, you know. And the mind is, remember, there's a mind-body connection. The mind is far more at peace as well when the Agni is nice and strong. Okay, ghee has a very high smoke point. It's roughly 485 degrees Fahrenheit, and the chemical structure of it does not really change at high heat. And that means when you cook with ghee, you don't, you know, it doesn't burn, and you don't have that hissing and popping and kind of splattering that you would otherwise find like with butter. Now, it produces a very sweet aroma, and it really enhances the flavor of food. It's just a delicious and amazing thing to start using if you're not using it. I said a minute ago that in Ayurveda it's considered a sattvic food, and a sattvic food means it's a very pure food. It's typically made from cow's milk. It contains the essence of the grass that the cows are eating. Okay. The ghee possesses the essence, in other words, of the cow's milk. Okay, so according to Ayurveda, which is that ancient healing system of India, these sattvic foods are very pure. They're light and they're fresh, and they bring that sense of lightness, freshness, well-being to the body and the mind. Okay, so they are deeply, deeply nourishing. And they have the power to create a sense of well-being, contentment, joy. Sattvic foods do, and also radiance. Sattvic foods like ghee help to keep the body lean and healthy, and the mind clear and sharp. And again, this goes back to ancient medicine from 5,000-6,000 years ago. So ghee is very nutrient dense. Because it is concentrated, it would automatically concentrate vitamins like vitamin K2 and the fat soluble vitamins that are naturally found in butter, like vitamin A, for example, is also present in ghee. It is a food that aids in the absorption of nutrients that are essential for good health, and it does not contain any of the harmful trans fats or hydrogenated oils that are linked to heart disease and other serious modern diseases that we face. Okay, and remember that for thousands of years, people have used ghee for not just food, but also for medicine. And because of ghee's ability to transport nutrition into the tissue or the cells of the body, it's often taken in combination with herbs, okay, for healing the body. Okay, so ghee versus butter, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I'd like to start now on the roasted and spiced pecans. So anybody have any questions before I move on and take you over to my stovetop with me? Are we good? Anything in the chat there, Courtney?
I have a question.
Sure.
At the end of the handout, it says, I recommend butter for spreading and ghee for cooking. Why? Because I've been using ghee for toast.
You can, absolutely. It's wonderful. It's just, I heard Sandeep say that recently, you know, and it just that people were asking him at a conference. We were recently asked, you know, about the difference between butter and ghee and how this person wanted to start using more ghee. And so Sandeep was saying, you know, butter is fine and good for spreading, you know, if you want to spread butter on toast, but you can also, you know, use ghee more for cooking. But I also spread ghee on my toast, by the way. And so does my niece. So he doesn't mean you can't use it because it's so flavorful and wonderful. And certainly if you're avoiding dairy like my niece does, although my niece is not vegetarian or vegan, dairy doesn't affect her very well. So she has to be very careful. So she's a big, I'm just going to use ghee, right? Person. And so really they are quite interchangeable and not to worry at all.
I've had the same experience as your niece. I can tolerate ghee, but I can't tolerate cheese and milk.
Yeah, she just, you know, even with butter, you know, she'll often get a stomach ache or, you know, just it's not good or crampy, run to the bathroom. And ghee does not affect her like that at all. And she's so grateful for it. So, I mean, certainly, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Good question. Anybody else, anything? Okay, I'm going to move you over here and I want you to be able to look down into my saucepan here and make sure you guys can see that. So if you can't, let me know, because what I've got in here is I've got ghee and I've got jaggery. So this jaggery, got 1/3 of a cup of it, and I've got 1/4 of a cup of ghee. I've got 1 pound of pecan, halves and pieces. And I've got, and you can just, if you can find the halves, that's great. And then, but pieces are totally fine too, but mostly it looks like it's pecan halves. And then I've got some spices here. And my spices here, got some Himalayan pink salt I've added, cinnamon, ginger. I've used some mace in this. And I'm using some cayenne pepper, which can of course be optional, or any of these, you know, spices, if you don't like them, can certainly be optional. So I'm just going to kind of start mixing this around here, you know, to kind of get the jaggery warmed and spread evenly, kind of mixed in there. And there you go. So this is, and I've got it just on very low heat, because what I want to do is kind of get it blended in, you know, here. And then I'm going to add the spices to this too, before I add even the pecans and get it all stirred together. But it does need to be warm here. Okay, so I'm just going to stir the spices in there, just like this.
So you melted the jaggery, and that's what you're doing now?
Yeah, I'm melting it all together here, and then I'm going to stir the pecans into this and get them really coated with the jaggery and the ghee. and because I've got a pound of pecans, I'm gonna do it all together in this saucepan. And then I'm gonna transfer it to just a regular like cookie sheet. I have a stainless steel cookie sheet, and I'm going to, at that point, just put it in the oven and bake it, you know, like roast them. This is actually, I'm doing that at 350 degrees, okay? So you can see it's kind of coming together here now. And that's exactly what I want. And so now I'm just gonna make sure that stays on low. And at this point, actually, I can turn the heat off because this is nice and blended together. I'm just gonna stir my nuts in here. So I'll just turn the heat off now, get my nuts. This is like amazing caramel, by the way. So get my nuts going in here, add the rest here. I'll do it a few at a time, like in three different times of getting it all in there. Oh my gosh. I wish you were all here with me so you could actually take in the fragrance of this. Oh my Lord, yum. All right, and I think I'm gonna add the rest now here. There we go. And, oh my goodness, yum. So just get every pecan coated with this caramelly, spicy, yummy ghee mixture. There you go, get it really well. And you know, if you wanted to, there's no harm in taking a taste of a pecan in case you wanted to say, add a little bit more cayenne or a little more salt, or maybe you want more cinnamon, or maybe you want some additional nutmeg or ginger or whatever, and that's totally fine too. But okay, we are now ready to get this mixture. Let me grab that back. There you go. Onto our cookie sheet and ready to go into the oven here. So I'm going to bring you back over here, and I'm going to put the cookie sheet down right in front here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And again, anytime you guys, if you say, well, we can't see, tell me, because I definitely want you to see everything. All right, so now I'm just going to, now you can lay a parchment paper out, but because this is stainless steel, I'm not going to bother. It'll clean pretty easily, so I don't worry about that.
Alana,
Yeah.
why are you using jaggery rather than brown sugar, maple syrup, or coconut sugar?
In this particular recipe, because I want the caramelly, delicious, rich flavor of the jaggery. It's like, I don't know, you know, have you ever had a praline? People say praline, but if you've ever had a praline, and I'm from Louisiana, and that's why we say praline in Louisiana. But it's like that. It's like the best praline you've ever had in New Orleans. It's that kind of a caramelly, delicious, amazing treat. So that is exactly why I am using jaggery in this recipe. And I'm going to spread these out. Oops, get that there. Over this cookie sheet. Get it all kind of spread out there. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you guys can see it well enough to see how, you know, what it looks like as the ghee and the jaggery have coated these nuts. Okay. Just yum. Okay. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to put these actually here in the oven in just a second. And these are going to bake for probably about 15 minutes or so, and not a whole lot longer because it's at 350. Now, I'm going to put it in the oven, so just give me 1 second to get these in there. All right, and I'm also going to set another timer here. And this time, I'm actually going to set the timer for about 15 minutes to start. Okay, so let's just do that. Let's see, timer 15. Start. Okay, so now I have 2 timers going, but let me just show you what the little bit that's left here in my, you know, in my pan. See that? So this is absolutely where you take this and you take a taste of it there. And you make sure, and you'll know exactly what I mean. So I'll take a little taste of it. Here, I'll grab my little fork, and not to make you all jealous, but I think I'm not the galloping gourmet. Here you go. It's just so good. It's spicy and caramelly, absolutely yummy. And you know, ghee with the jaggery just enhances the flavor, right? Makes it even more caramelly and melt in your mouth. But jaggery is actually a nutritious sweetener. It has all of the minerals and the vitamins and everything that's naturally in the whole cane. It's still in the jaggery. So very good. Okay, so while we are waiting for our muffins to finish, and they should be ready in about 6 or 7 minutes, let's keep talking. Oh man, that is good. Let's keep talking about ghee. And here we'll talk about ghee versus butter. You know, so ghee has a really rich and sweet and deliciously nutty flavor. It's great for baking, sauteing, and deep fat frying, like we talked about before. Now, when you saute with butter, the milk solids, if you're not careful, can actually burn and create a burned, you know, it can burn, create an appearance of being burned and a burnt taste, but you don't find that with ghee. It's very hard to burn ghee like that. Even vegetable oils can burn and become toxic when they're cooked at high temperatures. But on the other hand, ghee is long lasting, it's stable, it's high heat, perfect traditional cooking oil, and its saturated fatty acids let it hold up really beautiful under that high heat without that splattering that we talked about earlier. So the saturated fatty acids actually make it stable. Okay, just out of curiosity, I want to know, I'm going to actually see if I can look at you guys. How many of you actually do use ghee or have used ghee in your cooking before? Okay. Oh, wow. So you guys are familiar with it, right? So do you use ghee as primarily for cooking or sauteing? Or just for like Indian food or what? Let me know.
I use ghee for frying potatoes, and everybody's always like, why are your potatoes so golden? Ghee, same for like frying chicken. I always get that perfect golden with the ghee.
Yeah, great. That's awesome.
And then of course baking breads and stuff.
I use ghee for just about everything, but sometimes when I want a different flavor, I use olive oil. So I'm interchanging them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I use Pure India Foods cultured ghee, and I wish someone would talk about the difference between cultured and regular ghee, because I've heard it's much better.
Courtney can talk about it.
Oh, you want me to? I thought you would do it.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, cultured ghee is made from the cultured cream. But remember, it's cooked, you know, it is cooked. So the culture is not alive, but it has just a little bit of its own unique flavor, and it's excellent. But Courtney, you can add to that if you want. I'm going to pull another ghee out of my refrigerator.
Sure, 1 second. Let me put my video on here.
I want to show some people one of my favorite things here.
There we go. Okay, so the cultured ghee compared to the original ghee, the difference in making it is that we take the cream at the very beginning before we turn that cream into butter, and we culture that cream. So then we end up with cultured butter, and then we take that butter and we simmer it into ghee when we're during the clarification process. The process of culturing helps digest the culture itself is digesting the lactose and the casein and the whey, all of those things that people typically react to if they have dairy allergies. That culture is like pre-digesting them, so to speak. That's what fermentation does. It's like pre-digesting things before it gets to you. So the cultured ghee, as a result of that process, does have a different flavor. It's more buttery tasting. it has more of that sweet nuttiness that is unique about ghee.
Yeah.
But it also has less of the allergens that people react to. So that's why we do the batch testing for our cultured ghee. And that's why the main market for that is people who are severely allergic to dairy, because it's tested and it's fine for them to consume. If you don't have a dairy allergy, I would say for the price difference, original ghee is going to be like just fine for you. You're going to get the same like nutritional benefit and taste. But for people that really need it, we're doing the cultured ghee, and that's what we're also using for our herbal ghees and the turmeric super ghees, the ones that are more, the supplemental ones. So
Great.
that explains.
Any other questions? Okay,
We have one in the chat. Let me read this to you.
good, yeah.
Would it work to make these savory by eliminating the cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger and using maybe cumin in addition to cayenne? How would you still use jaggery? What about using garlic ghee?
So that's funny. I make savory nuts a lot. Yes, absolutely. I use cumin, coriander, garlic. You can use onion powder. You can do anything. And I like to add some like spice to that, as well. And ghee or garlic ghee. And it is absolutely delicious. Yes. You can even add herbs if you wanted to. You could do like an herbal spice, something with like oregano, thyme, rosemary, parsley, dried herbs, that you mix with the ghee and salt, and you do them like that. And I think they are absolutely delicious. I love them. The other thing I use, it's interesting that you bring up the garlic ghee, because one of my very favorite things to use for sauteing vegetables, or even when I'm doing Asian food. I grew up in Hawaii on a primarily Japanese diet. So I use garlic ghee with toasted sesame oil. And can I just tell you, it is absolutely delicious. It is delicious. I love it. So if I want to do a nice, like quick, broccoli, let's say, I'll do garlic ghee, toasted sesame oil, and the broccoli. And, I'll add like, some kind of a tamari or whatever other spices that I want. And it's great, but I do that a lot. I do it a lot. So it is time for us to check the muffins here. So let's, I'm gonna pull these out and bring them right over there for you to see what they look like. But I can kind of just, let's see, grab that. All right, here you go. I'm gonna pull this down so you can say, oh, that's what they look like. There you go. Can you see that okay? There they are. They are beautiful. So I'll just really quickly test them, but sometimes you can press on them and see, make sure that's clean. And that is clean, and these are done. Okay, so there you go. They're beautiful. Now they need to cool in the pan for a while before being removed. But these are really awesome holiday treats, delicious. So I hope that you will try them. And, again, you can make these gluten-free if you wanted to, and you could even like make them grain-free. You could probably do these. You'd have to figure it out, but you could certainly do them with like ground almond meal, almond flour, and maybe coconut flour or some cassava or something like that. And they would work that way too. Yeah, if you wanted to. Okay, good. So there you go. Maybe you can see that better. What do you think about that?
Beautiful.
Aren't
How
they lovely?
long was this? 15 minutes, or how long did you cook them?
I baked these pumpkin streusel muffins for 22 minutes. So anywhere from like 22 to 25 minutes, as long as they test, sometimes in a heat concentrated toaster oven, they'll be done a little bit quicker, I've noticed. But as long as it tests clean, with a toothpick, you're good. So that's it. And they're very pumpkin-y, very holiday, they're great with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So cup of chai, just great, yum. And again, you can play with the spices that you want to add, the flour that you want to add, or even how much sugar you want to add to this. I mean, I will often make muffins and I will just take like some dates and I'll blend the muffin batter in a blender with dates, like half a date or a date for each serving. And then, do it that way. As long as I get the ghee and the spices in there, I don't need things to be very sweet. And the topping would be fine. And, so you can just do that too. Good. So we've got another about, let's see, 4 minutes or so before I check the pecans to see how those are doing. So we'll talk a little bit more here about ghee and the casein and the lactose, because during the process of clarifying when you're making ghee, the milk solids are removed and that leaves the butter fat behind, or the butter oil. Now you might still have very small traces of some lactose, for example, or some protein in there, like casein, but like I said before, for most people, it doesn't bother them. And quite frankly, our most quote unquote dairy free, which obviously ghee is dairy, but you know what I mean, casein and lactose free, ghee is the cultured ghee. It's batch tested and it is excellent. So it's got the lowest possible amount. So it's practically undetectable. Okay, for those of you who are really avoiding dairy. Okay, so again, unlike butter, well-prepared ghee has very little moisture added, so it's very, very shelf stable. So if you keep it in an airtight container, you really will not need to, you won't need to refrigerate the ghee for quite a while. Usually, 2 or 3 months, it's really fine. If you keep it around and use it more sparingly, or if it's summertime and your house is warmer, then you might want to keep it refrigerated after a couple months. But I will tell you what you can do is take like a smaller jar and put, some ghee in it and leave it out on the counter for a month at a time, and then just keep replenishing it. Because once you take it out of the refrigerator, leave it out for a while, it'll get soft enough. You can transfer it to another little glass dish that you can keep out if you want to have room temperature or softer ghee like that. Okay, good. Now some ghee, I wanted to tell you this because I'm a little bit fascinated by it. I was having a conversation with Sandeep about this too, and that is that in some parts of India, some families will actually keep ghee for 100 years, and it is considered highly medicinal, but not through eating. In other words, they don't eat it because by that time it would smell like not good, but they use it topically to heal like the skin. And it's kind of interesting because even in Ayurvedic medicine, 100-year-old ghee is like, we're going to get to use that, right? Is recommended in certain cases. I find that really interesting. So it has particular healing properties, but that kind of ghee is really very rare and very, very expensive. But aged ghee, again, it's used topically, but it should not be consumed, of course. And that's true for ghee that you may have had lying around your house for 10 years. You can open it and smell it, and there are a lot of things you can do that is not, not good anymore. If you have it, sitting in the back of your pantry and you forgot it was there, you can actually season your cast iron skillet with it, or add some essential oils and use it topically on your skin, but you might not want to eat it. You smell it then. Okay, so do remember that ghee has been used for thousands of years, and I love this because the proper use of food is a cultural achievement that takes thousands of years to perfect. This is so cool. Whereas medical science changes its ideas of what is important every couple of decades, right? So this underscores the traditional wisdom of our ancestors, right? Isn't that just beautiful? Good. And also I wanted to just touch for a minute on ghee for each of the doshas in Ayurveda. So, the doshas are our body constitution. So there's Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and there are sub-doshas of those as well. But those are the main 3 we're going to talk about, just the basic general properties of those. Let me check our nuts here. Oh, wow, beautiful. And they look great. I can tell, I'm just gonna leave them in about another, oh, I say maybe, I'm gonna go maybe 3 or 4 more minutes, and that's gonna be it. Okay, and those will be ready then. Okay, so Vata dosha, the Vata dosha tends to be very thin, and they don't have a lot of regularity in their life. Sometimes they have issues with sleeping patterns and eating patterns and such things. And for them, and they tend to be cold, and their digestion can be kind of iffy from time to time. So the Vata dosha benefits greatly from good amounts of ghee. Very, very important, because it helps to strengthen the fire, the digestive fire called Agni that we talked about earlier, and it supports strong digestion, and that means strong body and also the stability that the Vata dosha needs. The Pitta dosha is the hot dosha. It's the dosha that looks a lot like me, the fair skin, the strawberry blonde hair or the blonde hair, the green or the blue eyes, the freckles on the skin. This is fire in the body, Pitta dosha, you know, and that is my basic constitution, Pitta dosha. And the Pitta can have problems with excess heat unless they have, like I do, another dosha that kind of helps to balance that out. Like for me, it's a little bit of kapha, but not as much as Pitta. So I don't get as hot as other Pittas, or, you know, I don't have huge temper tantrums like a typical Pitta dosha might have if they're just strong Pitta, you know, but that ghee is very cooling and stabilizing and balancing for that Pitta dosha. And that works with food as well. So if you have a hot dish, you got a really spicy lentil curry or a spicy, you know, steak dish, right? Really spicy, the ghee tempers it. And it's really great when you mix it with cilantro, because that doubles that cooling effect, right? So you want to use ghee for that Pitta dosha too. Now, kapha is the dosha that is slower. It's the dosha that tends to put on more weight, you know, it's the heavier sleeper, you know, and the person who enjoys just kind of laying back a little bit more. They go, right? So that kapha must have ghee as well, because it is balancing to all 3 doshas, but the kapha dosha needs the ghee in a limited amount. So not 1 or 2 tablespoons of ghee, but 1 or 2 teaspoons of ghee for balancing that dosha. Otherwise, the kapha dosha can become more imbalanced if ghee is taken in excess, right? So, and that's true for all fats, butter, ghee, oils. The kapha dosha needs it, but in a limited quantity. But ghee is very important for every dosha. And so when you look at like ancient Ayurvedic cookbooks, or you listen to the Vaidyas, the doctors, like one of my favorites, Dr. Vasant Lad, who's been doing this for 50 years and is a scholar on the Charaka Samhita and others, the ancient texts of Ayurveda, they still are giving the kapha dosha ghee, you know, but they're not necessarily giving it with bread and pasta and heavier things like that, but with vegetables and such things. And then it doesn't increase kapha dosha. So does that make sense? Time for me to pull my, I'm gonna pull the nuts out of the oven here. So give me 1 second, you can see what these look like. All right, so.
Did she say a tablespoon for Vata on the
Oh my gosh.
ghee?
All right, so this is hot and bubbly. So it's still bubbly there. You can see right through here. So
Alana,
now, yeah,
we had a question. Maria, will you repeat?
good.
Did you say a tablespoon of ghee for Vata dosha? Is that
For-
at each setting or that day?
For Vata dosha, yes, the Vata
Yes.
dosha can use a tablespoon or so, or more if needed, at each meal or whenever they're eating.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, the Pitta dosha can also,
Okay.
if there's a problem with weight gain, or kapha dosha, which is the heavier dosha. Remember, the kapha dosha is the dosha that contains the elements of both water and earth. So when you mix water and earth, you get mud, right? Now, mud is nutritious and beneficial, soil, right? But it is heavy and thick and dense, right? So if our constitution tends to reflect the heaviness, the density, the thickness, then we need ghee in smaller amounts, right? All oils, fats, and heavier foods, including heavier things like breads, pastas, heavy meat dishes, like sausages and such, should be kept in moderation. Does that make sense? Again, let me straighten that out. There you go. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, you want to definitely eat it, but more in moderation. Yeah, good. Good. So, okay, so let me just show you again what we've got here. We've got our delicious, there you go, our pecans. And these look beautiful. They're piping hot, but after they cool down, they'll crisp up a little bit here, and then you can store them. Now, because they are they're roasted, you definitely want to store these in the refrigerator, because once a nut is roasted, the oils become more volatile, and they're more prone to going rancid. But if they're refrigerated, that really slows that process down greatly. Okay, and then our beautiful muffins. I think I can probably, there you go, remove one right now and show that to you. So let me do that. Okay, grab this, and I'm going to show you what the muffin looks like here. There you go. Yes, so I can see the muffin right there. Okay, so what I'll do here is just cut that muffin in half so you can see what it looks like on the inside too. And this would be delicious with ghee spread on it. But now you can see that beautiful, you can see the pretty orange color from the pumpkin. There you go. What do you think of that? And then we have, you know, our lovely pecans. We'll put some of those on the side too. Although again, these are still quite hot. But there you go. And that's a nice little, there you go.
Alana, you're officially invited to my Thanksgiving dinner.
I'll be there. Hey, it's only a plane trip away. Good. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this aside here and then come back to you guys and see if there's any follow-up conversation or anything you guys want to talk about now. Good. Okay, so what do you think? Any comments, questions, thoughts? Do you think this might be something you might try? And please feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah. About the jaggery and on the pecans, will that solidify or does it stay more pliable or liquid?
No, it will solidify and get crunchy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now they're just too hot.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's a great question. No, it will get like yeah, more crispy. Yeah. Yeah. It would be kind of like using, you know, melting brown sugar with butter and then throwing the pecans in there with spices and doing it that way. Only we're using the ghee and the jaggery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
If I can taste one here without burning myself here.
How long does that last?
These pecans in the refrigerator, you know, once they
how
really
long
cool off and you can kind of break it apart and everything, then I would say in the refrigerator months, you know, and in the freezer a long time. Yeah. And again, you know, if you don't want the messy pan, just put some parchment paper down, then it makes it easier. You can just do that. Good questions. Anybody else, any thoughts or comments?
They look good.
Good. Okay, anything else? Let's check the chat here and see what's going on here. All right. Oh, grab my glasses and read this. Oh, good. Okay, so Annette is asking here, would it work to make these savory? Oh, that was Annette. Yes, absolutely. Can you give us the recipe again? Sure, I'm sure Courtney can give that to you again. She'll repost that. Courtney, are you with us?
Yeah, I reposted it just now.
Perfect. Okay, great. And let's see, make sure we didn't miss anything. Yeah. Oh, Rika Torres says she likes to use the ghee on everything, making sweets, frying rice. I like that too. And in fact, what I love to do with rice is just fry the rice in ghee before adding my broth, like some chicken broth or vegetable stock or whatever I want to use. And I just love that too. Yeah, that's great. Good. Okay. Well, I guess that if nobody has any other questions, that we can complete our little demonstration for ghee and jaggery or using ghee. And hopefully you guys will make these recipes for the holidays or something that suits you with the ghee.
Thank you very much. It was great.
You're so welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, we'll see everybody next time.
See you next time. Thank you. Bye.